Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's broadcast of Mount Mercy Men's Soccer. Today, the Mustangs are hosting the Mid-America Nazarene Pioneers. We'll get started with live coverage after we meet the players from both teams, and we'll be set for kickoff. We'll be right back. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live broadcast of today's Mount Mercy men's soccer game featuring the Mustangs hosting the Mid-America Nazarene Pioneers. The Pioneers come into today's game with a 4-game win streak, 3-0 in the conference and 6-2 overall, ranked 19th in this week's NAIA national standings. Mount Mercy on a 1-game win streak, winning earlier this week at Culver Stockton 1-0, 1-2 in the conference and 4-4 overall. And early on, it's Mount Mercy with the first early attempt and a late challenge, a late tackle. Nothing foul about it, just at the last minute, probably saved a shot on goal for the Mustangs, but it's an early corner kick for Mount Mercy. And it's Augie Boscan, number 23, on the ball to take the corner. He drives it to the middle of the goal, and it's cleared away by the Pioneers. Isaac Shire with the ball, plays it back to today's goalkeeper, J.P. Oliveira. And our first offsides call of the day is made by the assistant referee with his flag up. We'll go through today's starters for the Mustangs here in just a moment. Mid-American, a 5-hour trip from here in Olathe, Kansas. Probably with an early bus ride this morning to get here. The women's team also here at a game played earlier this afternoon. Final result of that was Mount Mercy 0, Mid-America Nazarene 0, and that was after 2 overtime periods. The Mustangs had a chance to win it in both overtime periods with some good offensive attack opportunities, even hitting the bar a couple of times late in the game. As you can probably see on your screen, it's a beautiful day here in Cedar Rapids. It's 72 degrees or 22 degrees centigrade. It is windy. It's about a 14 mile per hour wind from the west moving east. So as you're looking at it on your screen, imagine the wind in your face. That did play some tricks on the ball in the first game of today's doubleheader. It's also homecoming and alumni weekend here at Mount Mercy, and we had some homecoming royalty festivities in between games. There's a tailgate going out on the concourse of the Plaster Athletic Complex. And here again is Mount Mercy with another good opportunity. Mount Mercy taking it early to Mid-America Nazarene, the higher ranked of the two teams and probably the favorite for most people looking at today's schedule. Mount Mercy certainly feeling otherwise, the gentleman on the field in white with the yellow trim. Mid-American in a charcoal gray uniform with red and white colors. And there's another attempt. The second shot attempt, neither of them on goal, but the second shot attempt for Mount Mercy. And let's take a look at the starters for the Mustangs. Mount Mercy looking to be playing in a 3-4-1-2. 3 defenders, 4 midfielders, 1 attacking midfielder, and 2 forwards, if I were to guess, based on what I see on the field. We already mentioned goalkeeper J.P. Oliveira, João Pedro, if you will, is a 6'2" sophomore from Brazil. Number 4, Jake Cockwell, 5'10" junior from the United Kingdom, a transfer from Life Pacific University in California. I should mention that Oliveira, the goalkeeper, a transfer from Indian Hills Community College in Ottumwa, Iowa. Number 5, Isaac Shire, a 5'8" senior defender from Rose Park, Utah, a transfer from Gillette College in Gillette, Wyoming. Number 10, the team's leading goal scorer, Yu Sasaki. Sasaki, a 5'7" senior midfielder playing as a forward from Japan, a transfer from Parkland College in Champaign, Illinois. Number 12, Jonah Dancer. Jonah Dancer, a 6'1" defender from Iowa City, a transfer from Western Illinois in Macomb, Illinois. Number 13, Martin Camacho. Camacho seeing his first bit of play, at least here on the Mount Mercy pitch, a 5'8" junior. No, excuse me, let me rephrase that. There we go, a 5'10" sophomore from Portugal. He's playing in a defensive position today. Moving down our list of players on the pitch right now, number 14, Yuhei Matsushita, 5'10" senior from Japan, a transfer from Mercer County Community College in West Windsor, New Jersey. Number 16, Jose Late. Jose, a 6' senior from Portugal. Number 17, Gonzalo Reis, a 5'11" freshman defender from Portugal. Number 23, Augie Bozcan, the captain on the field today, a 6' senior from Germany. And rounding out the starters for the Mustangs, number 26, Antonio Cellular, 6'3" freshman forward from Spain. Here's Bozcan on the ball on the right wing. He looks to try and put it through the wickets of the defender, unable to do so. Matsushita plays it into the middle of the field. Cockwell plays it out to number 13, Camacho. Camacho to Sasaki. Sasaki unable to get to the ball before the defender. So Mount Mercy, the early aggressor in these first 8 minutes of the contest. Mount Mercy with their first of a 2-game homestand. The men will be back in action later this week, playing at home on Tuesday night at 7:30 versus Clark, an in-state rival from Dubuque, Iowa. We mentioned to you that Mount Mercy at the top of the broadcast that they are coming off a 1-0 win in Canton, Missouri at Culver Stockton. Mid-America on a 4-game win streak with wins over Park, Grandview, Benedictine, and the Science and Arts. The only team that the only opponent that these two teams have in common is Grandview. Mount Mercy losing to Grandview 2-1 in 2 overtimes a week ago. Let's call it a few days. Let's call it 10 days ago. Grandview on the losing end of their game versus Mid-American Nazarene by the same score, 2-1, last Saturday. So, common opponent. The Mount Mercy coaching staff tells me that their best game came against Grandview earlier this year. And so far, both teams still working on feeling one another out, trying to put their strategy and game plan into place. Looks as if Mid-America Nazarene is playing in a three-back system, 3 defenders, 3 midfielders. And I wouldn't think that they're playing with 4 forwards, but probably a mixture of forwards and attacking and holding midfielders. 3-4-1-2 might be a possible combination, but at this point it doesn't truly matter. Didn't have the opportunity to talk with the coaches prior to the game and find out for sure, so I'm just speculating here. But Mount Mercy doing a good job of forcing Mid-America Nazarene to go back towards their own goal early on. Jonah Dancer will collect this on the sideline. He'll play it off the defender for a Mount Mercy throw-in. Cockwell plays it back to Shire. Shire plays it back to Reese, and Reese plays it back to Oliveira. Here's Boscan on the ball. Boscan expected Late to run with him, and Late stopped his run. Goal kick, Pioneers. A nice tackle by Cellular. Here's Cellular. He's a little slow to get to the ball. Fitness probably catching up with him a little bit as he's just seeing his first appearance on the field, at least here at Hodzic Field. And it's a corner kick for Mount Mercy, their third of the game. This one well over, but to the back post. I was going to say well over the group of players, but the ball kind of hung up with the wind and ended up Mount Mercy getting on the end of it to play it into goal. Sometimes one of the more effective corner kicks is to switch it all the way to the back post and then play it back across the field, get the goalkeeper moving in the wrong direction. Mid-America in the box. An offsides flag has gone up. Pioneers tried to draw a foul at the top of the 18. The referee was having nothing doing. Oliveira rolls the ball as far as he can until he's told to back up to take the free kick. Here's Late on his sideline, finds Sasaki, tries to get the ball back and intercepts the pass. And I think it'll be a goal kick. And our first sub of the game coming on for Mount Mercy. A PA announcer and play-by-play announcer's worst nightmare has just entered the ball game. Natan Schustelin from Iceland, a 5'11" freshman, transfer from Auburn University in Montgomery, Alabama. I say that tongue-in-cheek because his last name, despite being pronounced as Schustelin, is spelled Hjaltin. Somehow an S is thrown in there. All kidding aside, Natan Schustelin is in the ball game at the forward position for Antonio Suilar. I'll double check on the pronunciation of his name at the break. And now the ball's up to Boscan. Boscan tries to beat his defender to the goal line, and he does. And it gets blocked out of bounds for a fourth corner kick for the Mustangs. Boscan gives the signal. Players get into the box. Here's the delivery. And that one sized up nicely for Jacob Cockwell. The wind might have played a little trick on that. He went for the diving header. Maybe unnecessary, but he tried it nonetheless. A for effort. D- for execution. Cockwell a defender, so he gets a pass. Mid-America, one of the number of Heart of America teams in this week's national rankings, but Mount Mercy unfazed by that early on. We're about 20 minutes into today's game, 19 to be official. And Mount Mercy has been the offensive juggernaut of today's game, more so than the higher ranked team. Ball gets switched from left to right. Late keeps it in play, forces the defender to knock it out of bounds. I mentioned the players on the Mount Mercy roster from a number of different countries, including the United States. Mount Mercy, I jokingly say, is the United Nations of college soccer, represented by 20 different countries on their 50 to 60 man current roster. Speaking of international, here is Schusterlin. He tries with the outside of the boot to get it over to Sasaki, unable to get the toes around it, and puts it out of bounds. Apologies to any parents and families at home abroad that I'm butchering names of. Boscan earns a throw in for Mount Mercy. Late will take it. Late throws it over Boscan. Cockwell has it to Matsushita. Matsushita loses possession. A nice win by Camacho at the midfield stripe. And he'll take the throw in. Make that dancer with the throw in. Sasaki on the ball. Sasaki gets it into the 18-yard box, but it sails long. Late picks it up, puts it back in. Big goalkeeper, 6'4" is what he's listed at. He looks much bigger than that. Carvalho, Enzo Carvalho from Brazil, 6'4" sophomore. Of course, everybody taller than 5'8" looks big to me. Nice job by the back line for the Pioneers to break down the Mount Mercy pressure and get the ball over the halfway line. Mount Mercy does like to play this pressure style high against the back line to try and make them make mistakes. Some games have worked, some games not so much. This game yet to be determined. I will say early on, Mount Mercy does appear to be forcing more turnovers and creating more opportunities for themselves than they have in the last couple of games that I've seen played here at Hodzik Field. And another corner kick has been issued for the Mustangs. You can only hope that as these numbers continue to increase in terms of number of set pieces for Mount Mercy, that one of these is going to translate into a goal, or at least a better goal-scoring opportunity than has been created so far. Mount Mercy retreating. Mid-America trying to build up and counterattack. They decide to slow it down and play it through the goalkeeper. Checking in for the Mustangs now will be number 8, Itsuki Ishihara. Ishihara, a 5'7" senior midfielder from Japan. Itsuki is a transfer from Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona, his second year with the Mustangs. Here's Ishihara with a little bit of a break. And Cockwell was right by his side, and I think there needed to be a little bit of communication there between the two players. Otherwise, it could have resulted in a 2-versus-1 breakaway opportunity. Jose Late plays the ball out of bounds. It'll be throw-in for the Pioneers. It's a nice breakup by Camacho. There's Dancer on the ball. Dancer to Sasaki. Sasaki to Ishihara. Ishihara, Sasaki, and Matsushita all joined the team from Japan last year and influenced by assistant coach Sho Takaoka. All three of these Japanese players have been great additions to the Mount Mercy team, and a handful of other Japanese players joined the team this year. I expect that by the end of the game, we'll see at least one or two more. Here's Matsushita on the ball. Here's Cockwell. Back to Matsushita. Matsushita tries to play the cross, but unable to get it through the defense. Isaac Shire all the way back to Oliveira. Oliveira finds Camacho. Now it's Ishihara. Ishihara on his left just can't get around the ball. And it'll be a goal kick, and we'll have some substitutions for both teams. In for Mid-American is going to be number 2, Nicholas Richmond. In for Mount Mercy, number 6, Taiga Tanabe, 5'7" freshman, one of those Japanese players that I mentioned previously that has come to the team this year. Tanabe playing in the midfield. Also in number 22, Orlando Clark. Orlando Clark back to the team after taking the year off due to COVID concerns. a 6'3" senior midfielder and defender from from Jamaica. Mid-American Nazarene trying to cross the ball in, unable to do so. And it's Mount Mercy going the other way. An optimistic delivery by Schustelin finds nobody except the Pioneer goalkeeper. And a foul's called at the midfield stripe. 0-0 is our score here. 14 minutes remain in the first half. Here's Tanabe. He finds Dancer. Dancer to Clark. Back to Tanabe. Apologies to our Japanese fans. I believe it's Tanabe, not Tanabe. Here's Clark on the ball. Somehow that ball got through to the midfield for Mid-American, and then Clark tries to get it out wide to Late, and it's behind him. Here's Ishihara to Tanabe, to Matsushita. Dancer tracking that ball down to keep it from going out of bounds. Schustelin. Matsushita with a good tackle. Tanabe lets it run. Tanabe keeps the pressure on. Ishihara tries to keep it in, but it rolls out of bounds. It probably is aided by the wind. Mount Mercy will have a sub at the next opportunity. College soccer, you can only substitute in on your own throw-ins, on your own corner kicks, or on any goal kicks. That's assuming your opponent does not have a substitute ready to go as well. Pioneers able to deal with the pressure and get the ball out of their defensive third. And now they play the ball over. There's a nice tackle by number 17, Gonzalo Reese. It's a nice tackle unless you're wearing blue and red, and then it's obviously a foul. No foul was called by the official, though. To be fair, Reese's studs might have been showing, but he did get the ball. Either way, it's a throw-in for Mid-American. Attempted cross goes off Orlando Clark and out of bounds for a corner kick. And as we saw last week from Central Methodist, the bigger, taller defenders for Mid-American Nazarene are coming up for set pieces. And if there's one thing that Mount Mercy is lacking, it's team height. Many of these defenders are bigger than their opponents in white. But this one is knocked out by the Mustangs first. Camacho with the second clearance. Into the box. This one bounces over everybody. There's a handball that being asked for by the Mustangs. The official waves it off, says there wasn't one. And here's Itsuki Ishihara. He's undressed by the defender, and the defender's going to earn a booking. First yellow card of the game goes to number 6, Vitas Voitel. Voitel is a sophomore, 6'1" sophomore from Vienna, Austria. Mount Mercy able to collect the long kick from the goalkeeper. Tanabe loses his footing and a foul is called. Ball gets switched over late now on the opposite wing that he started on. Plays it to Clark. Clark loses possession. Tries to win it back. If nothing else, slows the attack down for the Pioneers. Space in the midfield for Mid-American, but they're unable to connect passes. So it looks like Jose Late is on the far side of the field. Jonah Dancer is now on the near side of the field, so they've obviously switched positions. And substitutes have been made for both teams. In for Mid-American, number 21, Diego Calderon. In for Mount Mercy, number 7, Jordan Webb. A defender, a 6'1" senior from Cedar Rapids. A product of Linn-Mar High School, but a transfer from Coe College across town, actually just down the road from where we're watching today's game at, here in Cedar Rapids. And also in number 11, another local product, Thomas Bean, another defender or midfielder, 5'10" senior from Cedar Rapids. Went and played for Coach Hodzik in high school at Xavier High School, part of the Catholic school system in Cedar Rapids, and transferred from Truman State in Kirksville, Missouri. Kirksville closer to Olathe, Kansas than it is Cedar Rapids, but Bean's home is here. And a foul's been called And depending on where they play this ball at, could be in a dangerous situation. It looks to be about 35 yards out, which is typically a little longer than you might expect a shot to be taken, but many of today's college athletes are able to at least put this on frame with pace, sometimes with dip, sometimes even in more of a knuckleball fashion. But no problem for Oliveira, well positioned and an easy pickup without any interference of an attacker. Orlando Clark flips it over to Ishihara. Clark has space on this close sideline if he can find it, but Mount Mercy gets out of the pressure. Unfortunately, they deliver the next ball right into the hands of the goalkeeper for Mid-American. And it looks like we've got a foul being called. Foul was committed against Matsushita. You may be able to hear it in the distance. We've got players and coaches and fans asking the referee for something other than just a whistle, I think. And the official is only willing to give a tongue lashing. But here's it. Itsuki Ishihara nearly intercepts that ball that went to the goalkeeper. And Mid-American probably a little fortunate not to give up a goal. They may, however, have lost one of their players temporarily as he's down on the field. And a stoppage in play with 3:05 remaining on the clock. Trainers being asked to come out on the field. And a few of the Mount Mercy players coming over for a quick rinse while there's a stoppage. We'll have a 15-minute halftime break after we run the clock down to 0. And during that time, yours truly will be off the air. I'll go see what the Mount Mercy coaches have to say. And then I'll come back with some statistics to share with you regarding the first half. And they'll take him off the end line, and it looks like one of the trainers is going to come and get the cart to keep the injured player from having to walk all the way over here. But play will go ahead and resume with a throw-in in front of the Mount Mercy bench for Mount Mercy. Here's Webb on the ball. Clark on it now. Clark tries to feed it through and unable to do so, but Matsushita picks up the scraps. It's out of bounds for Mount Mercy for a throw-in. Clark gets bumped from behind but is able to maintain possession. Gonzalo Reese with a good clearance. Make that 2. And he springs Jordan Webb, the goalkeeper, a little hesitant to come out all the way, but is able to comfortably collect it. And he'll throw it out to the wing for distribution. Mid-American Nazarene trying to get something on the board before the half, but a minute and a half remain. It will be their throw-in for the Pioneers. Thomas Bean knocks it out for the second time in a row. And we're down to the final minute. And here's a little bit of a chance. Mount Mercy fortunate that wasn't on target. Point blank range shot went well wide. And with that, I'm going to switch my hats from play-by-play to PA announcer, count down the final few seconds of the half, and I'll rejoin you as we start the second 45 minutes of today's game. And welcome back to today's live coverage of Mount Mercy men's soccer. We're here at the Plaster Athletic Complex, home of Hodgick Field, for the second half of today's contest between Mount Mercy and Mid-America Nazarene. At the halftime, it's scoreless, 0-0. Mount Mercy with 4 shots versus Mid-American's 2. 2 of those shots coming on goal for Mount Mercy, 1 of them on goal for Mid-American. Each goalkeeper with 1 save apiece, make that 2 for Mid-American Nazarene. Mount Mercy with 5 corners, including a couple of them early on in the first half, in the first minutes of the game. Here's Sasaki. Sasaki has Hayate Ino. Ino with his first shot, first touch even, and it gets pushed over the bar. Another save for the Mid-America Nazarene goalkeeper from Brazil. Hayate Ino, a second half substitution just into the game. That was his first touch, as I mentioned, and not a bad one to start with, but the 6'4" Brazilian goalkeeper up to the challenge, and it's another corner kick for Mount Mercy. As I mentioned, Mount Mercy with 5 corners in the first half, now 6. Both teams called for offsides once. 4 fouls against the Mustangs to 2 against Mid-American, and 1 yellow card to speak of against the Pioneers. That's a quick glance at the first 45 minutes. It was an entertaining 45 minutes, especially if you're a Mustang fan. The Mustangs put pressure on the back line of the Pioneer defense, attempted to create turnovers, created some situations that were in favor of the Mustangs, but again, nothing to show for it. Both goalkeepers in today's game from Brazil. The Mustangs goalkeeper, JP or João Pedro Oliveira, a 6'2" sophomore from Brazil and a transfer from Indian Hills Community College in Atumwa. Oliveira has played well with the ball at his feet mostly today, but when called upon has made the saves necessary. Jonah Dancer with a nice breakup. Here's Sasaki. Yu Sasaki, the team's leading goal scorer, loses possession and then loses it to an opponent. Mount Mercy's pressure, though, able to keep the ball in this area. A good attempt by Augie Boscan. Boscan, the captain of today's Mustang team. Boscan, one of the few seniors on this team. Isaac Shire, a defender, also number 5, a senior. Itsuki Ishihara, a senior. Thomas Bean, a senior. Matsushita, Yuhei Matsushita, a senior. Orlando Clark, a senior. And Otto Turanovich, a senior. The rest of the team made up of juniors and even younger. Some of these even first-year players for the Mustangs. Hayate Ino gets called for the push. Mentioned first-year players for the Mustangs. Currently 3 players on the field that are brand new to the Mustang roster. Those being Jake Cockwell, a defender, Jonah Dancer, a midfielder and defender, and Hayate Ino. And it looks like I need to update my roster because Martin Camacho is also a first-year player for the Mustangs, despite being a sophomore. Here's an opportunity for the Mustangs, but easily collected by the oversized goalkeeper. Here's Cockwell, normally a defender, playing a little bit higher than he typically is accustomed to, or at least that we're accustomed to seeing him. Camacho plays it all the way back. Take that back. This is Camacho on the ball. Boscan taken down from behind, nothing doing, says the official. Everybody stopped, including the Mid-American Nazarene players, expecting a call to be made. That should be enough to blow the whistle, but it's not. And almost played into his own goal. But it's touched over the bar, and it's another corner kick for Mount Mercy. This ball will be driven into the wind. I wouldn't expect for it to be incredibly high or go very long. Here comes Mid-American on the counter. A nice job by the defense to stop the attack from the Pioneers. The goalkeeper, Oliveira, was well off his line, thinking he was going to have to come out and smother a ball, but the defense got there first. Pioneers play it all the way back around the back line before going forward. Suspect they'll do the same here. There's a chip over the back line, but Oliveira comfortably collects it off of his line. Tries to quickly restart the offense, but didn't quite get the air under the ball that he needed to get it past the midfielders for the Pioneers. All of the goalkeepers for the Mustangs very good at that side volley type distribution. And all three of them, two from Brazil and one from Spain, have seen minutes during this season. And maybe it has something to do with the wind. Maybe it has something to do with the half of the field that it's being played on. But right now, Mid-American, the aggressor, Mount Mercy during the first half was the aggressor. Here come the Pioneers. Pioneers with a shot from distance. This one's pushed wide by the goalkeeper, Oliveira. A nice little push with the left hand. The 6'2" sophomore using those long arms to his advantage. And it's a corner kick for the Pioneers. Watch for those big defenders to get in on this box. And there's Oliveira using again that size to his advantage, going up and comfortably receiving that ball in the air. Gives a few directions, sets the ball down, and kicks it off of the floor. Well, if you're not a soccer fan, shooting low is where you want to shoot on these two goalkeepers. Certainly both of them have the ability to get low balls, but you can only fight gravity and get down to the floor so quickly. Both of these goalkeepers have already shown that their height and length is a valuable asset to them both. And that's not to say that either of them couldn't be beat high, but that's not been an issue that we've seen just yet. 32 minutes remain in the second half. Oliveira's goal kick gets hung up in the wind. Cockwell tries to turn the ball and gets tripped. That'll be a free kick for Mount Mercy. Mount Mercy needs to employ their forwards and midfielders to start moving into open space and open passing lanes. Really hanging the defenders, I won't say out to dry, but they're making their job a lot more difficult when the ball gets turned over. Mid-America wants a foul called. Sasaki went in with his studs, but got the ball. Here's an opportunity for Sasaki. Maybe. Sasaki has scored from this position on the field before. A nice play by Martin Camacho to try and keep possession of the ball. He needs to return to his defensive line. Matsushita retreats to help out Camacho. And the defense gets behind the ball and stops the counterattack. Well done by the Mustangs. Gonzalo Reese plays it long, but nobody was ready for that ball. Sometime that type of quick attacking method, sometimes it works at the high school level, but unless you just have an absolute burner playing at the forward level, it's difficult to play the ball over the top and create scoring chances. And now Mid-American Nazarene is pressuring the back line of the Mustangs, much like Mount Mercy did to the Pioneers during the first half, trying to create turnovers and scoring chances off of those turnovers. Boscan jumps over the goalkeeper who came out to play the ball with his feet. And after a quick scramble, Mid-American Nazarene is able to maintain possession. But now the goalkeeper sits down, puts his arm up as if to say, I need some assistance. And Mid-American Nazarene kicks the ball out of bounds. And fairly quickly, the backup goalkeeper gets up off the bench without much warm-up. If this is American baseball, we'll return to action in 20 minutes when the relief pitcher is ready to go. In this case, we should be back to action as soon as this goalkeeper's on the field. Speaking of substitutions, Mount Mercy has 3 at the half line ready to go in. Itsuki Ishihara, Orlando Clark, and Antonio Cuellar. Apologies to our Spanish fans who I butchered Antonio's name during the first half. I talked to him during the halftime break to ensure that I was getting his name right, and he pronounced it for me, but I'm no good at rolling my R's, and so it doesn't quite have the same flair, but Cuellar is the closest that I'm going to be able to do today. And it appears like the goalkeeper is okay. Normally when the trainers come out, I believe the player has to come off of the field, but that may not be the case. I'm probably more in tune with the high school game. As a former high school coach myself, that was what the rule was, but apparently the college game has a few other details that I am unaware of or unfamiliar with. So apologies for that. And just like that, the backup goalkeeper throws the sweatshirt back on and sits back down. And they're going to just give the ball to Mid-American at the top of their 18-yard box. Granted, they had possession of it and kicked the ball out of bounds. And the Mount Mercy fans are asking for a yellow card. There was no intent on playing the ball. 2 hands to the back. And I've been informed from others in the press box that individual already had one. The official maybe influenced by the fact that he doesn't want either of the teams to have to play a man down. A silly reason, if you ask me, but that's how many officials choose to do their work. A nice side volley to clear that area by Cockwell. Gonzalo Reese plays it back to JP. JP plays it forward but into the wind, so it doesn't quite have the carry that it normally would. Sasaki plays it forward to Ino. Hayate Ino on the ball. He steps on it, plays it back to Sasaki. Sasaki tries to get it into the box and maybe create a foul. But the official's right there and says no foul. Here's the Pioneers. A little bit of space given by the Mustang defense. Jose Late clears it for the moment. JP off his line. He'll distribute to the opposite side of the field to Dancer. Dancer plays it long, hoping to find Eno. Wynn playing tricks with the ball once again. Nice bit of footwork by the defender for the Pioneers to get beyond Augie Boscan. And a nice bit of play by the Pioneers to keep possession of the ball on the wing. They earn a corner kick for themselves. Here come those big defenders from their back line positions. 3 players still at the half line for Mount Mercy. Probably wondering if they're ever going to get in. This one swung to the back post. It's a loose ball in front. And that's an unfortunate break for the Mustangs. That ball never got cleared, and that's what happens. That's why it's so important, even if you have to play it out of bounds. You can't let it bounce around in the 18. There's just too many bodies and too many strange things can happen. And just like that, it's Mid-America 1, Mount Mercy 0. 23 minutes and 25 seconds remain. And the goals being credited to Mid-America Nazarene. Get you the number here in just a moment. Number 7, Rick Hovinga with the goal for Mid-America Nazarene in the 66th minute. So Mount Mercy had some good opportunities, but wasn't able to convert any of them during the first half, and obviously none here during the second half either. And there's a tackle. Just because there's football lines on the field doesn't mean that that type of tackling is allowed. The official makes the call, but not a booking. Ishihara, who just got manhandled, is on the ball. And a nice job by Mid-America Nazarene to keep possession and keep it in bounds to create a little bit of a chance anyways. It ends up at the feet of Orlando Clark, and he's got nobody to pass it to. You can see him holding his hands out. Frustrating situation for anybody in white at this point. You've just given up a goal. You've nearly given up another scoring opportunity, and now you're trying to clear your own goal box, and you have no one to pass it to. And Oliveira just does the safe thing and clears it wide, and in this case to Dancer, who grabs his leg. I don't know if he's dealing with some cramps. He's going to stay on for now. And I would assume that Mid-American, with a 1-0 lead, if they can't add to it, is going to start employing some of these time-wasting characteristics. The clock doesn't stop for substitutions. And there's a handball that's not called. Here's Cockwell with a 3-quarter over-the-head kick. Sasaki called for a foul, and this will be about 40 yards out, but with a wind like this, don't be shocked if this gets driven towards goal. I'm not suggesting it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it. Don't think that was a shot attempt. I think they were hoping to have the ball redirected on the back post, but it obviously didn't happen. Isaac Shire on the ball. Gets it over to Gonzalo Reese. And Reese and Dancer are not on the same page, and Reese kicks it out of bounds. So Mount Mercy with a little work to do, but 20 minutes in time. They've not been absent of chances tonight. That one takes kind of a crazy deflection, and JP, the goalie, Oliveira, stands his ground, makes his body big, and deflects that out of danger. Mount Mercy struggling to get the ball out of their own defensive half of the field. And a few players are up for the Mustangs. I expect we might see a And there's another, this player may be done. If we're correct, and this player is the one that has already been booked. And there's his second yellow card, and he's finished. So Mount Mercy will play with a one-man advantage for the remaining 18 minutes and 24 seconds. And really, the referee had no other choice than to give that second yellow card. He already gave him one caution 5 to 10 minutes ago. And by caution, I mean a verbal caution to tell him no more. And he certainly grabbed him from behind, pulled him down. And now the strategy changes for the coaching staff in red and navy. Coach is on the field, which he probably shouldn't be if I were to be critical, asking for an explanation, which he has every right to do. Now a long ball gets played into the box. Mount Mercy gets up for it for the first touch, and then a deflection after that. Ishihara turns away. And that one was more dangerous than it looked. And the goalkeeper is down once again. I don't know any of these players personally, but being around the game long enough, I suspect that he'll live to see another day. He may have gotten touched when the ball slowly came into the box, and he got the call that he had hoped for. Mid-American with a chance. Oliveira able to collect that easily. Dancer on the ball, has space to run. He plays it to Matsushita. Matsushita plays it back to Shire. Shire plays it to Camacho. Camacho brings it up. Ishihara goes back the other way. Sasaki on the ball. Cockwell switches fields. Orlando Clark able to knock that one down. Now it's Cockwell again on his left foot. Back to his right. Towards goal! It's a goal! No! The flag went up immediately. Oh, that's unfortunate for the Mustangs. The flag did go up immediately, and the official did appear to be in the right position. At least he was close to even with the player. The question always is, was that player there before the ball was struck or not? And at least according to the assistant referee, he was in an offsides position before the ball was struck. If the ball was struck, however, and he ran into that position, he is not offsides. And there's a challenge that will go out for, I think, a throw-in for the Mustangs. So Mount Mercy puts one in the back of the net, but it gets recalled for an offside. And we don't have VAR to look at it, so we can argue all day about it. Here's Orlando Clark took a whack at that, and the defender stuck his neck out, and it'll be a throw-in for Mount Mercy. Mount Mercy with 15 minutes to tie this up at 1. Cuellar was the target for that. Antonio Cuellar, a 6'3" freshman forward from Spain. He created the first few opportunities for the Mustangs in the first half and is now in as a second half sub. Matsushita plays it all the way back, and now Shire has it at his feet. Yu Sasaki, the number 10 jersey for the Mustangs, gets a touch. Itsuki Ishihara now has it. Some fancy dribbling gets him nowhere. Matsushita, same difference. Stumbles over the ball, but Mount Mercy able to maintain possession. Gonzalo Reese on the ball. To Jonah Dancer. Couple of step-overs. Make it 3. He's able to find Reese. Reese plays the ball in, and it gets headed out of bounds for another corner kick. The wind will be at the back of the ball here, so it's very possible that this could sail if it's not kept down. Matsushita there on the back post. Cockwell goes up for it. Mount Mercy resets. Orlando Clark switches it back over to Dancer, who just took the corner. Dancer tries a little snake move. Nothing doing as far as getting it past the defender, though. And now we've got substitutes for both teams. In for the Pioneers will be number 8, Augustin Torello, and number 13, Gabriel Bustamante. In for Mount Mercy will be number 11, Thomas Bean, and number 18, Manuel Prieto. Here's a ball driven into Sasaki, but he is unable to chest the ball back to his feet. Cockwell goes up for another header. And that one goes off. It went off of the legs of the defender in gray, but a foul was called for a push in the back. Camacho didn't like the call. Matsushita plays it all the way back. The goalkeeper, Oliveira, plays it to Shire. Shire has space to bring it up. Itsuki on the ball. Now Dancer. Back to Camacho. Switching fields is Shire. Thomas Bean on the ball. Runs right over the top of it. Orlando Clark able to shield his man from the ball. And now it's to the other side of the field. Shire puts his hands up as if to suggest nobody's moving. And that's a searching ball. Cockwell might be able to track it down. He's able to at least keep it there momentarily. Dancer on it. Matsushita with the ball. Bean with the step over. Ishihara taken down. Ishihara could very well be the most fouled player in the conference by the end of the season. He'll set the ball. Mountain Mercy needs to stay on sides here and give themselves a chance, and that's not the kind of chance that we need right now. Ishihara will be unhappy with that set piece. In for the Mustangs is number 7, Jordan Webb. Webb is one of the seniors that we discussed earlier. One of the handful of seniors for Mount Mercy. Webb will take up one of the forward positions. I assume the Mustangs have changed their shape or changed their formation. Webb not one to typically play this high on the field. Eight minutes and 20 seconds remain on the clock. Orlando Clark able to track that ball down. Shire has space to bring it up. They don't have to be in a panic yet. There's still plenty of time to work the ball up. Stay within the game plan. But as you might imagine, being down 1-0 brings on a little bit of a sense of worry and concern. And here's Oliveira well out of his box, and he had to be in order to keep a breakaway from happening. Ishihara, here's Webb! Webb has a chance! And apologies for yelling into the microphone. Webb had about as good of a look as possible and probably should have struck it first time. It was a crowded box for sure. Here's Webb again on the ball. He'll try and make up for it. Couple of step overs. He plays it back. Prieto drives it into the box, but out of bounds. Rick Hovinga checks in. 6'1" freshman from the Netherlands, the only goal scorer of today's game. And the Mustangs allow the ball to go all the way back to Oliveira. And now Mid-American sits back. They basically have 9 guys behind the ball. 1 attacker up as a release valve in case they can clear it and maybe get a counterattack and a second goal. Bean goes in and tries to collect it, but he's unable to. He gets knocked down for his efforts. And here comes the substitutions on every stoppage. So many non-soccer fans dislike about the beautiful game. Now in for Mid-America, number 17, Nicholas Thabarge. Ishihara is going up against two defenders. The odds aren't good in those favors. And it gets back to him on the throw-in. He loses it out of bounds, and it'll be a throw-in for the Pioneers. The Pioneers now have 4 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. It's getting heated and, as they say, chippy. Sasaki with the ball in his left foot pushes it over to his right. Isaac Shire has to clean this bad first touch up by Camacho. 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in today's game if this result stands. Here's Ishihara. Cockwell. Cockwell loses the ball. Camacho cleans it up. He'll keep it. Webb on the ball. Webb swings it in. A good ball by Webb into the box, but no one for Mount Mercy going for it, or at least able to get to it before a Mid-American defender gets there. And we'll have a stoppage. Mid-America trying to get a few extra yards by walking their throw-in up. Camacho with the header. Sasaki hoping for a foul. I think he got clipped on the shin. Cockwell gets dumped after he kicks the ball to Webb, which ends up out of bounds. The Pioneers in no hurry to throw the ball in, and we'll have a stoppage. And this official needs to be giving a yellow card. This is the second incident in a row where the players have walked the ball up. Stopping the clock after it's already happened really does no good. This ball goes out of bounds off of Mid-American. Sasaki on the ball. Sasaki finds Orlando Clark. He'll take a rip. It gets blocked. Clark may not be the one you want taking that shot, but at least someone is. And the goalkeeper will wait as long as he possibly can before he gets rid of this. Cockwell goes up for it. Oliveira 30 yards away from goal now. Shire brings the ball up with 1 minute and 18 seconds remaining. Bean kicks it into the defender and earns a throw-in. Manuel Prieto tries to shoot from the top of the D, but it sails well over the bar. And that may have been the last good opportunity for the Mustangs to tie up this game. The goalkeeper will kick it long. He'll kick it 60 yards plus. And Mount Mercy running out of time. Now 35 seconds remaining. I'll come back with some final statistics if this ends up the final result. Well, as you witness, that's the end of the game. The final score is Mount Mercy 0, Mid-American Nazarene 1. Goal coming in the 66th minute when a ball couldn't be cleared from the 18-yard box on a corner kick. Mount Mercy, unfortunately, drops to 4-5 and 1-3 in the conference. Mid-American extends their win streak to 5 games, now 4-0 in the conference and 7-2 overall. The worst part about this for the Mustangs is they led in most of the offensive categories in today's game. 11 shots to 8, 4 shots on goal for each team. The goalkeepers made 3 saves for Oliveira, the Mount Mercy goalkeeper. 4 saves had to be made by Mid-American Nazarene. Mount Mercy with 8 corner kick attempts to Mid-American Nazarene's 3. And Mount Mercy called for offsides 3 times, Mid-American just once. So an unfortunate result if you're a Mustang fan. The game had opportunities, or you created opportunities, but just couldn't finish. And frankly, I don't know how else to say this other than to say that their shot selection was not very good today. The majority of their shots came late in the game when they were already behind. And despite being the aggressor, needed to play a little bit smarter offensively during the first 70 minutes of the game. So like I said, that takes the Mustangs to 1-3 in the conference. Their next game coming up Tuesday night. That game happens here at Hodzik Field at 7:30 p.m. versus Clark. Clark, a team from Dubuque, Iowa. About an hour-long trip for the Crusaders. And both the Mount Mercy men and women's team will be in action. A 5 o'clock start for the women and a 7:30 start for the men. We hope that you'll rejoin us for our play-by-play live stream broadcast of Mount Mercy men's and women's soccer, and we thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a good weekend, and we'll look forward to having you on our broadcast on Tuesday night. Thanks. Have a great weekend.